tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the realest to try. My family, SOE.
Dual tool tote. That's what we're going to build here. I'm going to show you how this is made. We just built several batches of these this week. So I thought that would be a good thing to build this week, show you how we build it, and then you can build your own, or you can order one at soegear.com. So let's see if I can remember how we built this. We did the first ones of these several years ago, right around Christmas. So let's see what we can do here. Calibrated eye.
We should try to build something without measuring or marking one day.
Yeah, we should totally do that. And then let's figure out how to make a ruler. Machine sound a little squeaky. Might be time for some oil. You hear how it's kind of has that popping sound?
Yeah.
When it knocked out a time earlier today when it went out, that's because the needle hit something rather than going through the hole that should have been there. So there's a little flat spot on the needle. That's why it's making that popping sound, because it's not sharp. When I started out sewing, I never could afford an entire package of needles. And needles come 10 to a card and 10 cards to a little box. And I couldn't afford that, so we just had 10. So we never changed needles until we absolutely had to, until we broke one. So that's just kind of been a holdover. You can change your needles as much as you want to. But there's a lot of stuff that happens that doesn't have to happen. Like when we moved here and we started hiring people that had worked at factories, sewing factories, they said that they had somebody that changed the needles every day. They would just, every morning they would change and put a new needle in. I'm like, well, we don't have that guy, so. We also don't have needles like that, so that's not happening.
Do you think using needles that have gone bad, like blunt and stuff like that, have made you any better or worse?
No, it definitely didn't make me worse. We used to take needles and just sharpen them on like a emery board, like on a nail file. We had guys coming in, they're like, we can take your needles and we can cryoprocess them and sub-zero quench them, or we could we can take the needles and put a titanium nitride coating. And I'm like, why? Like, they're just needles.
Does it
okay.
grab differently when they're like blunt and stuff until they're worked back out?
I mean, you can hear it right now. I mean,
yeah.
I just pointed it out. Ooh, my mark was off. I put this one on the inside, this one on the outside. Chances are much greater cutting the material than You're much better to pull on it and expose the thread and then nick the thread rather than cut the material. That way it'll keep you off the material. Any of you guys that rebuild and modify gear, you'll get good at cutting stuff apart and then getting the thread out of it. And we get so much of that just modifying equipment and changing gear around.
Do you notice different thread colors act differently? When you're sewing?
Yeah, they definitely do. Like for some reason, and I'm guessing it's the dyes are different or something, or maybe because it's not mil spec and there's a difference. But like the hot pink thread and the toxic green threads and stuff, they do not tension the same. They are very, very difficult to sew with compared to the other stuff. And I don't know if it's just because it's contrasting and you see it more, but I feel like there is a much greater difference with the hot pink thread and the orange thread.
Just like more give?
No, they just don't tension the same. It's like they're literally a different stiffness because of something in them. Man down. All right. Shit, I gotta cut the other one off too. So I'm using that to hold it. That's why I'm driving the needle. So I'm actually pulling to expose that thread, that little nick there. I cannot fucking see this. There we go.
Is that your dull blade?
No, I don't think so.
Success.
Would have been faster just to cut it over again.
But now people have seen the turmoil of it.
Well, a lot of dudes that are sewing their own stuff, they're modifying gear, right? So there might be, you just don't have the material, right? There was times when I was sewing stuff and if I didn't see, I nicked it right there. It's cut. So we'll put that one underneath and you won't see that piece. So we'll go back here and start. I had it on the inside of the line here, but on the outside over there. That's why I had to redo it. This one will be way more valuable. I disconnect those because that'll keep them from getting pulled up in there and becoming a rat nest or having to pick it out if you sew over it a couple times. That's why I always like to cut the threads super short or cut them off altogether. I don't have a mic on.
This is good. My other ones are dead. This is cool because it has a safety channel, so it's recording left and right. I can make one low and one high, and grab any I want out of it.
Where did all this come from? I don't know where these came from. I must have picked them up off the other table. This is what I need right here.
many rulers you got?
One. I had two. There's thousands of them, man. I hate every time I get a new ruler. I had one just like this. This is a
Didn't you have an orange one of those?
Help Smokey Protect Wildfires. Yeah, I had an orange one and this one, and somebody dropped my orange one, not me, and it broke the corner off. And unfortunately, it broke the corner off where the 1-inch was. And I don't know where that went. Somebody vacuumed it up or something. So I have this ruler that starts. There's no one on it, so. When I lose this ruler, I'll just stop selling.
Is it wood?
No, it's plastic. The marks are almost worn off of it. The orange one, the marks were complete. They were totally worn off. Like, you can take an old metal ruler that has all the marks on it, and most of them are like engraved in there.
Yeah.
So you can put paint all over it and then wipe the paint off and it'll redo the marks. I watched Dwayne from Strider had one that he had redone like that. They don't make shit like they used to, man. Like all those yellow rulers and stuff that we get, the metal ones, they're really good. But then the marks come off of them, and the marks are painted on, like they're silk screened on, so they're a little raised. So over time they wear off, so the ruler's just trash. Yeah, you just throw it away. Out of thread.
It's so weird how much I know about this stuff now. Because like when you're out there talking to them about it, and you're like, yeah, I didn't know you could just tie off the thread of the other thread. And then I was like listening, and I was like, but make sure you hit a little kink when you're pulling the thread through, because if you don't, it gets caught on that. It's gonna cut you to the bone.
Yes, it is. And when you cut yourself, you will bleed a lot all over this gear.
You ever had anybody in here do it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you nick yourself with a razor blade. That's why we put Band-Aids on, not because of the wound, but just so you don't get blood all over everything. Ooh, this just shrunk up. I thought I had more than I have. You can get those stitches to pull out a couple. It's not actually ripping the thread, it's just pulling the stitch line out a little bit. So now, we will put it back on closer to the edge. And we'll just use this to pull up one or two of those so we can get a hold of it.
If you don't hold that at the right angle when you're scraping that, does it grab the material and cut it?
I guess it could, but no, and I guess I've just done it so much. You want to keep the same tension and pressure when you're putting something on. If you do this piece, and you just kind of let it go where it wants to go, but then you do the next side and you really pull on it, they'll come out. They won't seat right. I'll go ahead and put the second line in here. You don't have to do this, but it makes it easier if you're reason I put that second line in, because that's going to limit where this falls when I top stitch this. I'm going to pull this over now, and where I just put that line, that's where this stitcher is going to go. And the foot that I have on here just followed that track, and that's why it's uniform all the way across. And that's the hem there, the overstitch, but I ran out of thread. That bobbin I just put in wasn't full. It was actually very low. That's what we said when we did that last video. I said it's going to be a
one bobbin job.
One bobbin job. This one's not full either, but it's a lot fuller now.
Does it re-spin the bobbin?
Does it re-spin
like
them?
refill it?
Well, there, I just put the bobbin in. This one goes over here. This refills the bobbin.
Got ya.
That loads the bobbin while I sew this. This turns this.
So when that one's out, you just take that one, pop it in.
Yeah, as long as you do it. I'll hear people like in the shop just running wide open because they didn't reload their bobbin. I'm like, you know that'll wind while you sew. Like, why don't you just do them at the same time?
Yeah.
It's like driving your car without putting your seatbelt on. I automatically put my seatbelt on. Like, I would never start the car and go drive without it. And that's how sewing this is. Like, I would never start sewing and not have the bobbin winding. I mean, obviously we did earlier because we had just brought the machine out here and set it up, and we were in a hurry to do the other thing, but I can't imagine forgetting to wind the wind. I just automatically do it at the same time. And then I'm holding this tail and it's twisting it as it winds up, and now I can just pull it off. There's that, and then I can just take it from here, and then this foot's going to run right against this zipper track, and that's what it looks like if I was sewing and I wasn't running video. I would run it at that speed.
And then when you go to flip it, it runs against the zipper track again.
And now,
right across
because that second line there, the first one just was so I could line it up. I could have done it on the other, but now I just hold some tension here, back it in, and now I'm just gently pulling on this. I'm making sure this zipper is flat underneath, and now I'm just top stitching this. And there it is. Just like so. Now I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to level this up.
What'd you just do with the scissors?
Tightened it up. These are just shitty scissors, so they'll go for, you know, hours and hours. And then eventually this is just a plastic screw in here that threads in, so it'll start coming undone on its own. So there's that. And I want these to zip opposite directions so that when they're closed, they don't clink and hit each other. So that's why I turned that. So there's that. And now, we will find the center right here. Make a little mark, that's what we're going to follow. And we'll find the center right here. Did I just fuck this up? No, that's right.
How long do you think, if you sat me down, how long do you think it would take me to learn how to sew this?
You could make this in probably an hour.
Me, with no knowledge.
You could make this if I was standing here with you. You could make this in an hour. It won't look like this. It'll still function the same. It just won't be as straight and precise yet. But I mean, I don't know. You might. I mean, you're fucking pretty good at everything you do. Like, you might be able to sit down and just nail it the first time. I mean, like doing tattoos, right? I can watch guys do tattoos over and over and over, but until you actually feel it.
Yeah.
Like, I can do a tattoo and go, okay, I'm good. But then when I wipe it, my fucking ink's not where I thought it was, right?
Yeah.
It takes time like anything else.
It's like learning, okay, well, I know at this speed this happens. This pulls this way. Tension does this.
I can tell you how to ride a bicycle all day long. You can watch videos on how to ride a bicycle, but until you go ride the bicycle.
Yeah. I learned that with motorcycles. It's like no matter how many motorcycle videos I watched, I was like, I was not prepared for that. You know what I mean?
But you had already ridden a bicycle.
Yeah, and like I'd ridden dirt bikes and stuff. I was talking about like on the road, you know? It just freaked me out being on the road. So I was watching, you know, hours and hours of video going, hey.
But don't you think that you would like way overthought it? Wouldn't you have been way better off just going and riding?
Again, that's why I was like, I'm throwing away all knowledge and I'm just going to the cemetery across the my yard.
Go to the empty Walmart, vacant Walmart parking lot. Yeah.
And Hannah, you know, and I try to tell her, don't look up any videos. Just get on your bike and you learn how to ride your bike.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was way better than freaking out.
Yeah, and probably a lot. Yeah. So I'm going to make a pleat going both directions here. That way it'll bellow out and hold tools and stuff. And then I want that pleat to be the same distance and also about the same size pleat on this side so that it's a mirror image. Which I pretty much can.
It's funny, I was wondering how you got that when I was looking at the other one. I didn't know if it was two pieces cut, pushed up, or if it was one.
So they were the same. I actually had to ask Miranda because we just made, I think we made like 50 of these yesterday. and I hadn't built, I mean, the last time I built one of these was 4 years ago. It was
did.
before COVID when we did it. And we did it on a Christmas for a promo.
Yeah.
So we had done this and the tool roll and the wrench roll when we made the razor video.
Yeah.
And the pattern was one pattern and it said cut 2 pieces. And I'm like, how do we get this out of there? And I'm like, Miranda, where? And then I saw it, I'm like, oh, we put the zipper on and that's why this one's bellowed out. That's why I have more room even though the pattern's the same size. Because this added an inch, this added an inch, so that added 4 inches.
So it takes away that on the back side of the material.
Yep. Whereas on the back it's flat.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking. I go, I
do
go,
you get
am I
that
missing a
extra
pattern
room?
or is this really one pattern? She's like, no, because I cut dozens and dozens of these the other day, yesterday, and then they made them, or yeah, yesterday morning, and then they made them yesterday. They made dozens of these. And this was part of the stuff we were talking about building, like for Overland Expo and stuff like that. It's not necessarily gun stuff. You can totally put gun cleaning kits and gun parts, you know, rifle parts and stuff in these. But how do you market to other people that aren't, you know, gun guys? Well, every person has a truck or a Jeep or, you know, every off-road guy. So there it is. That's how it's all together. And then we're going to edge tape it and we're going to put some snaps, and this thing will snap and it'll hold all of your wrenches. You can put your metric wrenches and your standard wrenches, or your screwdrivers and your wrenches, or sockets and drives and extensions. Put it, you know, whatever you want. You can color code it, get different colored ones.
Did you bring your edge taper?
I guess I did not. I brought the edge tape, but not the edge taper. And then if you're using branded edge tape, like multicam edge tape, it will have multicam printed on one side. So if you apply all the edge tape the same way, you're not going to have any branding, right? So if you want that, you need to do part of your edge tape this way and then part of your edge tape this way, because when it folds, it's only all printed on one side. So if you want that to be apparent, you need to be cognizant of that. Some people don't want to see any branding. Other guys want to see it, right? On a lifestyle product like this, you'd probably want to see it. You can see that it's printed into all the webbing and everything. So, which way are we going to go here? And you can change, you can flip the edge tape or you can flip the product. Now you can right angle this. I'm just gonna cut these and extend them. There, I flipped the product so the branding will be on the other side now. Burn some of this shag just in case so it doesn't. Now be cognizant of where you're edge taping across your zipper. And some of these edge tapers, like this is just a super cheap edge taper. It'll stutter depending how wide. Like I actually opened this up. You can see where I've even somehow needle struck this. There's a dent in here from a needle. I don't know how I did that. And when you buy these edge tapers are like 30 bucks on Amazon or whatever. It'll have a plate here. Inevitably, it's soldered on very poorly. That plate will break and you'll try to keep it on there. I haven't had a plate on this one for 10 years probably. I've been using this shitty edge taper. You can get good attachments from companies like Tennessee Attachment, but you're gonna pay hundreds of dollars. And for a custom binder attachment to do something, man, I've got binders out there that cost $1,000 to have them made. So be aware of that. Maybe you care, maybe you don't. That's my branding down, so I want it probably up on this one. And when you're edge taping, I want to apply just a little bit of tension back here as I'm going straight there, but I'm kind of fighting this a little bit. It's wanting to walk around because of the bulk and the zipper pulls here. So look at it when you're doing it, just think of the work as 2 or 3 inches at a time. That's what I keep doing. The needle's down, I'm in the meat, I'm kind of moving it and recross so it's in there flat. I'm not too far and I'm not out. And I'm gonna tack it in right there, run it out a little bit. Anything that's printed multicam or says multicam costs way more than any other material you use. So a lot of guys, small hobbyists and stuff, they're buying their edge tape by the foot, and you're paying 3-4 times more than what you pay if you bought it by the roll, and you're paying a lot more than you'd pay if you bought it by the case. So a lot of guys, when I'm rolling out here and I just cut off like 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, guys will be like, oh my God. I get it, man. I understand. Try to have as little as you have to. Now I'm going to go through and I'm just going to, and there's a lot of inconsistencies with this printed edge tape. A lot of times it's not quite 1 inch, so you got more on one side than the other, but this is pretty even right here. So I'm going to go through and sew the second lines in this. Be very aware of where your extra webbing is and where your zipper pulls are. You'll be sewing along and all of a sudden you'll hit one of those zipper pulls and it'll knock your whole machine out of time. And yes, this needle will punch straight through these zipper pulls. I'm going to back tack right there where that zipper is. Be careful with that. That'll damage you too if you're not. There's a lot of times when I'm just zipping along and I sew through this handle and have to undo it. See, it's even enough that it caught everywhere. It's all good. We don't have to put another line. A lot of times if it's not quite even, you'll have to put a third line in one of the sides. But that's good. Now we're going to just go to the hot knife. We're going to cut these tails here, and then we're going to put 3 snaps in here, and then this is complete. Super clean, ready to go. I don't know who the fuck wraps this around here all the time. Every fucking time I use it, I leave it out too on purpose.
Has Jeff been out here?
No. No.
I was about to say, do you just put that together and go through all of it?
Well, normally it's 1 inch over, 1 down, but I'm just gonna use my calibrated eye. You have to be about 500 for it to, here we go, 400, 300, 400. 500 now it should punch. I just need the mark. And that one all the way through. Where do you think the center is? Right about there? Let's move those zipper pulls. Keep it off of there, you'll melt that shit. Okay, if we look at it from here to here, that looks like it's about the center. Did we get all the way through? Nope. Now we are, okay. Now we can just take these little pinholes. And wallow them out upwards because I think I made them too low and I'm too close to the zipper track. So we'll move the hole, we'll punch through all the way and then wallow the hole out upward. There we go. And I'll put this here. Nobody uses this. I'll leave that there then rather than because it's not enough room for them. So there's that. Now I can put my posts in. 6 snaps. Now if you're going through a lot more bulk of material, wherever you're ordering your snaps from, you can get longer posts, longer shafts if you need them. I just saw a set of these for sale. Super cheap. He had like 4 of them. I don't need them at all, but man, I want to buy them because you never see them.
Yeah, and you never know when one of these.
Yeah. Once you buy the machine, you still have to get the dies, right? You can do a ton of different things with these eyelets, snaps, all kinds of stuff. I want to rescue it. It's sitting out and
I could say don't say where because it'll be gone.
oh, it's probably already gone. I'm feeling it because I know that I'm in the post now. And then you also want to make sure you don't have any meat in between here because it will cut off. If you have a tip of a finger, it'll cut it right off. Because that's like, it's barely enough to poke through there. Now I'm just pushing this down, it's spring loaded. Making sure it's set. Make sure your finger meat's not in there. Bam. That's it. There it is with the snaps. We'll cut the zipper pulls off. This snaps. Snap. 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 Dual tool tote. SOEtacticalgear.com. We've got them and we can ship them to you right now.
Built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah man, I'm talking about realest, one of the realest to try. My family